Hey, how are you? And you're here in for another video with the professor, me, Matt Heisler, on my channel, Inside Real Estate. And today I'm going to be talking about buyers who simply think that everything that's out there is completely and totally unaffordable. Guess what? I'm going to tell you it's not, right? So, and I know where you're coming from, okay? I know that the house that you want seems out of reach, okay? I talk with people every week, okay, that they would like a certain house and a certain floor plan in a certain area, and we talk about what they have available for funds, and it's not likely to happen. In fact, sometimes it's not going to happen, right? And they get very discouraged about this, but a lot of times the search that they're trying to do is very narrow, okay? They're not really thinking about what their options are. And if you talk with someone who helps people find houses for a living, you're very likely to find out that the option set of what you can buy is probably a lot greater than you think. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but the number one thing that we're going to talk about is, the goal really here needs to be that you should want to start paying yourself rent and to stop paying your landlord rent. I can't tell you how important this is. As long as you continue to rent, housing prices are going to continue to go up, your rent's going to continue to go up, and it's just going to keep slipping away from you. Okay? There is no time like the present, and I know that sounds crazy, but there is no time like the present to get off the rental cycle. Okay? The housing market is slowing down. There are some decent values out there. A lot of the craziness is gone. This is a good time. It is a good time to get out there and stop renting. So, all I can tell you is if you keep renting, it's unlikely to fix the problem. It just is. So, bottom line, there are always options, but a lot of times these options are not easy to find. If you're not a professional house hunter, you probably are not aware of the kinds of things that are out there and the kinds of discounts that are available if you go looking for them. So I've given a partial list here. I'm going to go over it very quickly because everyone likes it when I do short videos, not long videos. But at the end of the day, there's a lot more different ways that you can solve this problem. But the first is to be honest with yourself that the goal here isn't to find your dream house. If your goal is to find your dream house inside of your budget, you probably already know that that's not going to happen. Okay? The goal here is to stop renting. The goal here is to start putting in place a financial mechanism so that you can start to save up for the dream house. All right? And I'm no different than many of you out there. I don't live in my dream house, but because I've owned a home for almost 20 years, I'm a lot closer to it today than I certainly was when I started out. So the first thing people should consider is you should expand the number of towns in your commuting location. Okay? A lot of people are trying to get to somewhere, and they're very cautious about going one town over. But sometimes one town over can be 20% cheaper prices, and 20% is the difference between buying and not buying. So a lot of times those lines are artificial, and they say, well, but I'll pay it up in gas. At these prices, no, you will not pay it up in gas. Okay, you will have a house, and you will pay more money in gas, but the difference between having a house and what you're paying in gas, it's not the same. Okay, so try not to worry too much about the commute and the drive time. Besides, 5 years we're all going to have electric cars. No one's going to care about gas prices anyway, right? So the other thing that you can do is you can target less desirable locations inside of a town. Okay, I know many of you do not want to live on busy streets, or maybe you don't want a house that has a particularly tough driveway. But at the end of the day, these are fairly small sacrifices, okay, relative to the choice of continuing to rent and hoping to find that perfect house. You need to recognize that that first house for you, it's a stopping point, okay? It's a place where later on in life you look back and you go, can you believe we lived there, right? Can you believe we put up with that for a while? Maybe you buy a house that's right next to, to a highway and it's very noisy there. But that just becomes a story. It just becomes a story that's part of the fabric of your life. What you will remember is that that house allowed you financially to get from point A to point B, right? And that's really what this is about. I talk with a lot of folks, they definitely want a house, but they have condo budgets. And sometimes people have really good reasons for not wanting to be in a condo, and if that's the case, then it's not the right option for you, and you should see the other options I just went over. But a lot of times the reason that they don't want a condo is they say, well, I don't want to pay the fee. Listen, 80% of most condo fees is money you're going to spend anyway when you own a house. Okay, first of all, they buy you home insurance. I mean, you still have to buy a gap insurance policy. I'm not going to cover that right here, but they pay your home insurance. They do your landscaping. Okay, I mean, were you going to be out there with the lawn, or were you going to hire someone to do the lawn, right? So there's a lot of stuff that goes into that condo fee that you were going to pay for anyway, or you were going to have to do. So the condo fee most of the time is not really an obstacle, or at least it shouldn't be, not from a financial perspective. And so if that's your main reason not to buy a condo, I would encourage you to start thinking about, maybe condos are the best way to go. People who've bought condos in the last 10 or 15 years in Massachusetts have done fantastically. It's been a terrific investment. If you're thinking I want a house and not a condo because it's not a good investment, please stop. That's a myth. It's not true. Condos go up in value too, and they have tremendously, okay? And the last option I'm going to put on here, and I know a lot of you are going to poo-poo it, is I'm going to say buy an older home, okay? Buy a house that's older, okay? I talk with so many people, and they're like, I don't want to buy an older house. And I go, why? And they go, they require too much work. They say this to me like they have owned an older house, okay? That they have owned several older houses, in fact, and that they are very clearly too much work. It isn't always true, okay? A house is not a toaster, okay? After 10 years, you don't throw it out and start over. Houses today, even antiques, have been updated. They have modern roofs, modern windows. A lot of them have modern wiring, modern plumbing. All the old pieces about the house that required a lot of stuff have been replaced. Some of them have been re-sided with modern day siding. A lot of antiques have been vinyl sided. Vinyl's vinyl. Doesn't matter if it's on a 10-year-old house or a 100-year-old house. It's still vinyl, right? So a lot of times people don't look at these houses. Do you have to give up some things with older houses? Sure, the floor plans aren't really, compatible with, what buyers want today. These are relatively small sacrifices, and you can cut the price of the house you're looking for in half in a lot of cases. In half, folks, which means buying a house just went from something that's impossible to entirely possible. I mean, it's up to you. I don't know if you want to buy a house or if you just want to keep renting because you refuse to look at old houses, but not all of them are junk. Do some of them require a ton of work? Sure. That's why it's called a house hunt. But if you sign up with an expert, someone who knows a little bit about housing, will start going on an antique house hunt and find the antiques that have already mostly been updated and require very little maintenance going forward. They're out there, folks. You're not going to find them if you're not looking for them, okay? They're great solutions to getting that first house problem. And again, you need to recognize, no, it's not your dream house. I get that, okay? What it is it's a way to stop renting and save up to the dream house. I can't say that enough. Okay, you really need to be focused on the long-term goal. Just like any investment strategy, it only works if you do it for a long time. No get-rich-fix quick things here. That's not how it works, okay? So good strategy for most people is to buy that starter house. Stop paying the rent. Start paying yourself hundreds or thousands of dollars a month, okay, in savings, okay, and paying down that mortgage. All right, so just to close out, a little reminder, I have helped hundreds of buyers find their houses. If you'd like me to help you find a house, please reach out and let me know. You can call me at the number below or reach out to me on this video, and I will try to help you get where you need to go so you can stop paying rent even in this market. Thanks.